it to create a community in cannabis? And we do see these different communities forming. Yet we're a larger community, yet there's these sub communities. And it's just interesting to try to get a grasp on that and sort of figure out where we could add the most value, and maybe how all these sub communities can come together in a way to get onto that bigger, more important push, whatever it might be, instead of the individual communities within and their needs. And not this to say, to be specific, their needs are really important, and they're the pillars that build up to the overall, overarching movement. So it's just interesting to sort of see this, and so that's why we're asking you questions about your personal brand, and the Blunt Brunch and Event High, and how do these things sort of work? And we could take the slide down now, but we'll sort of kind of morph through these questions where we talk about online versus offline, and smaller versus larger, and the importance of community within that, and how we sort of connect. So thanks for listening to that really long-winded
that
thought.
was not long-winded at all.
That was interesting, actually. I liked that little timeline. That was cool.
It really was.
It's just interesting when you think about brands, and you think about people, and you think about how we're all connected, and what's meaningful to us and why.
And what drives us. And I like that, bringing it to the current, because I think a lot of people nowadays are more conscientious of where they want to put their dollars, and they want to get behind brands that actually resonate with their values. So I really like that you pointed that out.
Yeah, and it seems like the role of community has gotten more important since the 90s, right?
And even more important since 2020. Like, we need to find connection to help. I think people felt a lot of isolation during that time, so that the need and desire to connect has been even more, prevalent.
Really good point. Parisa, do you have any examples of brands that are doing a good job building community, or have sort of put that as part of their evolution, and coming forward and finding people that will be their customer base who also share their same values?
Yeah, I think 420 is a perfect example of that. Our platform has been designed to create a buy and give program within our model, where we give back 25% to our 15 group homes throughout the Valley, where we help men and women who are suffering from homelessness and mental health issues, and we help rehabilitate them. So that's been a big staple for the brand 420 Collections, and really built that into the branding as far as giving back, and using the platform as education to build the community of people that would care about these individuals. And it's been amazing, the love that we've received from the cannabis industry, as in comparison to other industries. They're so much more open to dealing with addiction and mental health. I feel like those things are more prevalent within our industry, and we're really, really sensitive to that. So thankfully, we've received a lot of love from our community, but just to shout out our own 420 Collections. Also, Blunt Brunch has done a great job of branding. I gotta say,
we're seeing a lot of love in the chat too. I want to call out a comment from Justin Mendez, who said, "Well said, David. Creating a collaborative platform that gives cannabis micro communities the tools they need to gather their tribe, manage them, and monetize them. That's my goal with Weed Society." Thank you for your comment, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, Justin.
Aww. And I see Ingrid Faye wrote, "Collective healing happens in this community." I love this. Yes, it does.
It really does.
It does.
For the plant.
And that's where that's where it all starts, is the love for the plant, as far as I'm concerned. But Adelia, forgive me earlier for not introducing Event High and you as being the co-founder as well. But creating a platform specifically for cannabis events, and then running Blunt Brunch as well. Talk to us about the opportunity for to build community both online and offline, if you will.
Well, so this has been pivotal, offline and online. One of the things that we really learned coming from the Event High perspective is, especially when the pandemic happened, we had to help our event organizers learn how to build community online because they were so driven and focused around in-person events. And so during that time as a company, it also allowed us to look in and really understand the importance of online communities. You know, we were able to experience virtual lives, like 3D virtual worlds of these events. We've had live streams that were fundraising events with entertainment. There was educational courses that were happening. And with that component, what we learned is not all of that's going to fit every community. You really need to understand what your community wants and resonates to. And then that's how you'll be able to build the activation or the experience you want virtually. And then when it comes to in-person events, you know, it has its own need. You know, we're seeing from a bigger picture, we're seeing all different types of events happening throughout the US. And literally, you are going to find your tribe in everything. We've seen from jazz and cannabis to a sushi and doobie event where you roll your own sushi and you learn how to roll a joint as well.
That's so cool.
So, yeah, exactly. But then you're also seeing now brands. We're seeing a lot of brands look at events, in-person events, as a marketing tool to, you know, get in front of them. You know, we're so restricted in advertising in cannabis, and by hosting an event around your brand, getting the right consumer to be there and attend, you can educate. They can feel it. They can sense it. They can enhance all the senses around it to really connect and understand your brand. So we're really seeing a power of events, not just online, but in a virtual standpoint as well.
And just a quick question to follow up on that. Because you're in multiple states and multiple markets, do you see different topics being brought up versus the image, you know, relative to the immature versus mature cannabis markets?
Definitely. So we are in 48 states and we're not legal in 48 states yet. So a lot of those that don't have any recreational or medicinal programs yet, we're seeing education. We're also seeing an interesting one, which, you know, take it as it is, but it's how to make money in cannabis, or they're still using the terms green rush, get involved in the green rush. So it's interesting how they're tapping into that kind of approach. In those kind of states. And then, you know, the California markets, like, obviously has been around doing events for a very long time. We're now also seeing a difference in cost points and ticket prices. So California is going a little bit lower now in ticket prices compared to New York, where New York is able to, you know, do increased ticket prices compared to what California used to be able to do. So there's a lot of different changes that we are seeing throughout each of the different states, whether it's the experience, whether it's the cost size, whether it's the audience size. It all definitely varies from state to state.
I want to call out a comment here that has to do with the regionality that we're seeing from Jen. I really appreciate that you can build community online, which helps to include disabled people, especially those of us who have to continue isolating post-COVID, and those in very rural areas who may not be exposed to the cannabis community just by nature of their location.
Wow.
She brings a good point. You know,
Yeah.
we are, you know, for us, like, sometimes I think we're in a bubble because there are still so many people impacted right now. It hasn't fully gone away, you know, and we have to remember that. So virtual events are still very important. Sure.
Good
And
point.
hi to Kansas, my home state. Looks like everybody is warmed up in the chat. So why don't we go ahead and do our first round of audience participation. And this is a stat that came from a UCLA study, and I'll give you all the background on the study itself. But the question is, what percentage of communication effectiveness is determined by nonverbal cues? Is it A, 54%, B, 67%, C, 81%, or D, 93%? And feel free to drop your guesses in the chat. This study is very often cited, but I think to really understand what they were looking at, it deserves a little bit more context. This was, they looked at different pillars of communication. Words was one of them, but the other parts were vocal elements, meaning your tone of voice, the pitch of your voice, and then nonverbal elements like how you're standing, your body language, your expression, your eye contact, to figure out like how people were being influenced by the speaker and what percentage was words and what percentage were these other non-word components. I see a lot of guesses for D. This is a super famous study too, so people have probably stumbled across it in their research before.
But what's interesting is when I looked at this, and I went through each one of the numbers, and I got to D, I started to think, well, does that mean 7% or a portion of 7% are verbal cues, right? Which got me to thinking, if that number is true, I should be shutting up. I should shut up more and just leverage my 93%. But I don't know. I'm curious. What do you think, Adelia and Parisa?
I mean, if I go towards 93%, I'm like, wow, no wonder in-person events are so important, right? I mean, that's wow. I don't know. I'm leaning towards C or D too. But I mean, I have to say, we're still very effective with communication, like verbal. there's still an important, we need it still.
Right. We still need the words in there.
Yeah, we still need the words, but
we have, I think, we're getting a lot of guesses, which is awesome. I'm seeing a lot of C's. Probably it looks like about 50% C's, 40% D's.
Nobody said A yet.
In there. Nobody guessed A yet.
So everybody thinks it's more than 50%. So that's saying something,
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Let's reveal the answer.
The answer is,
I feel like we need that game show music.
Right?
Yes.
And it's 93%.
Wow. Everyone who picked D, you're a winner.
And I see Jason McHugh is a winner. Hello, Jason McHugh from Califari, giving you a shout out.
And Jerome Hanway is also a winner.
Yeah, and Aaron has
Lots of
chimed
winners. Everyone's a winner. We're Oprah today.
You're a winner. Just to show them.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to hear that there are audio issues apparently with a few people, but bear with us here.
We'll try to use our body language more so they can understand us.
That's right. We just leveraged the last stat. We can get through this because we have 3% ways of communicating with each
The
other.
words are only 7%, so we're just gonna smile a lot and
Yeah, there you go. We're still giving that good energy,
That's right, absolutely. Parisa, do you find real world events to be more productive and satisfying? Dare I even use that word? Can you communicate more effectively, in person or online? I'm curious.
I mean, I definitely feel like in person, I can communicate better in person and really get to know somebody on a deeper level. But I don't want to say online is just, there's no value there. I mean, look at the huge community that I've built on Instagram and all the people that I've been able to meet and connect with online. So I definitely think that there's value in both. But if I were to choose one, I would definitely choose an in-person event over an online, just because of being able to really enjoy the person and get to know them on a deeper level. I feel like that intimate connection is there in person more.
And Adelia, you do a lot of virtual events too. This is a question I'm always asking myself. Is it possible to have that immersive experience in a virtual setting, in your opinion?
I think creating that atmosphere, again, it is tough. It can be very tough. Kind of going back to when looking at what we've seen at Event High with those experiences that I shared about earlier and the pandemic, it did show that it was vital. But how we've been able to really implement it here at Blunt Branch, we saw that in-person events, we incorporated what we call blunt conversations, which we shared a little bit about earlier. These are conversations that are important to us as women and topics that we may not be able to have in front of our team members or male counterparts. Just because they might be a little bit more vulnerable or just certain topics that we personally would just want to share within our own tribe. And so we saw that being very valuable, and we saw and listened to our audience that was outside of those in-person events. And we're like, we need to do something. We need to bring this virtually. We need to see if it has that same impact. And so we started launching Blunt Conversations Live weekly online. It makes it accessible to anyone, but especially to our Blunt Brunch community online, and they get access to these women and get to gain so much value and insight and perspective around these blunt conversations. And we diversify it by bringing different women each week. So 1 month, it could be all about imposter syndrome, but each week you are gaining so much value from a different individual who has different insights, experiences, and knowledge. And again, it has become so powerful by bringing that online.
And I have to point out, from all over the nation. That's the beauty of the online. Just like us right now, we're in different regions and we get to be together with all these amazing viewers. So we really can't count out online, you know?
Yeah, there's also an economic benefit too.
person.
Not everyone can afford to fly across the country, and not everyone has
Right.
mobility. So it's like it becomes more inclusive, and that's an extra
And
value add.
accessible. I loved
Mhm.
that point that someone pointed out about, you know, folks with disabilities or health concerns. Like, my daughter can't go out to regular events since COVID. You know, she has compromised health issues. So
Mhm.
online is awesome for those folks who need an alternative option.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And here we are, we're bringing it to them.
Exactly, David.
Priestess, so how important is brand in the cannabis equation? You know, and especially in the events side of things.
I mean, I think that's what makes your event stand out from someone else's, right? And that's how you attract the right audience and customer base, whether you're selling a product or an event series like Blunt Brunch, or you're selling product line like with 420 Collections. It's all about reaching that audience that you know is going to like what you have to sell, right? So for us, we want to connect with other executive women. So our branding is such to attract those business-like women in the space. So I think it's imperative if you want to get your brand out there. You know, your branding is everything. You know.
Yeah, it's you know, it's interesting just to to see how you know, how events both online and offline come back to branding. We certainly in our industry, you know, we certainly look at whether it's MJ Impact or MJ Biz. I mean, there's, you know, and lots of others. So if I'm not mentioning an event, please don't hate me. But normally they seem, you know, I'll take MJ Biz for a moment. It seems to be so big that it's everything to everybody, and because of that, there's something that's lost there, right? You know, so so just to bring this full circle, you know, to what Adriana and I always talk about is when we consult, when we talk about consumers to brands and to our clients, we talk about the client's needs and so, or the consumer's needs. So would you mind just taking a minute to talk about you know, you just spoke about women executives. What are their needs? You know, what are the needs of your consumers? Can you take a moment to talk through that?
Are you asking Adelia? Or
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know. Yes.
Adelia.
You know, I think why, and I'll try to explain it because it really was what we needed, what Priest and I felt that we needed as well. It was being able to, again, vent and have those conversations of like, you know what, I'm going through this and it really sucks, or I'm going through imposter syndrome right now and I do not know how I'm going to be able to close my round or get this next client. Or it's again like, oh my gosh, you guys, I did get that client. It's being able to share this stuff and have cheerleaders backing you up or being there when you just do not feel like you can do it alone. And those are really, that's what the bigger picture is. And then, you know, being able to connect each other. The other big thing with Blunt Brunch is all of our guests and those in the community gain value through these relationships, because as they build the relationships, they now have that in to where they are going to get more connected to being able to get in front of that brand and close that deal because they got a recommendation, because they have a firsthand connection with somebody from that company. So it's not just we're gaining just friends, but we're also gaining strategic partnerships. And even some of these women are getting better job positions or being able to increase, get a raise because they're now able to ask for it or move up in a position that fits them, that they've been wanting for so long.
Partnerships are so important, especially in cannabis. I feel like compared to other industries, it's so relationship based, and it's all about trust. And I want to kind of take us down a little tangent just for a minute, but it's related. We're on the topic of community building, and I want to take us down a little tangent and show. Let's talk about brand equity for a second. This one might be a little bit harder than the last one you all answered. So the question is, which of the following elements is not one of the components of brand equity? Is it A, loyalty, B, awareness, C, logo design, or D, perceived quality?
That's
Let us know what you think. And it's brand equity. And while you're taking your guess, a little background. This was from a study that was done. Well, actually, it was a book that was published in 1991 by a professor at UC Berkeley, Dr. Acker. And he basically defined what brand equity was, which was something that people didn't really talk about. But that might give you a hint that it came from 1991.
And I see, is it a tissue or is it a Kleenex? Wow. Is it a Xerox or is it a Q-tip or what is it? But absolutely, branding is everything.
Good comment, Jerome.
Yeah. I always say, is it carbonated water with sugar in it and caramel color, or is it a Coke and a smile? I think this is really interesting, and again, it's about brand equity here, so that's important. But it seems like we have lots of C's here. And Benjamin Kennedy. Benjamin Kennedy. That's interesting.
I'm counting 5 C's and 2 B's so far.
So the test taker in me, to be honest with you, looks at this and says loyalty, awareness, and perceived quality are all non-tangible, yet logo design seems tangible. I don't know. Adelia, Parisa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Agree. Out of all of those, logo design seems least important, but I mean, it is play an importance in branding, but you want a logo you can identify, read, so you can remember who they are. But when it comes to the other items, I think I'd go with C2.
It just seems different.
Yeah.
Right.
One of these things are not like the other. All right, let's reveal the answer. It is D. Good guess. Good guess, everyone. But yeah, process of elimination could probably have clued you in on that one.
Wait, why is it D? Shouldn't it have been C? I thought C was logo design.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
All the poor people that picked C. You are still right, C.
If you voted for logo design, you got it right.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the letter.
Oh dear, here's my nonverbal communication.
Ooh, we have to all have a face.
That's funny. Well,
just watching without audio is like, what just happened? They're all shocked.
They're like, something went down. Doesn't look good.
No, Nick, it's okay. It was a typo. You're okay, Nick.
Oh yeah, Nick over there.
Please forgive us, Nick. That's funny. Well, we as we're coming to a close over here, we've got a few minutes left. But what we love to do is ask some crazy questions. We got a serious question and we have a funny question. So we flipped a coin, and and with that, we have a serious question and a funny question. Adriana, do you want to bust out the serious question?
All right. I'll do the serious one. Okay, so thinking about building a team, probably in your case, it would be a marketing team or events team you're coordinating. Would you hire someone who didn't consume cannabis?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. That was quick.
Yeah.
That was easy.
This is the lightning round.
Or am I supposed to just answer, or was I supposed to wait? I'm sorry.
No, you can answer. Yeah.
That was a question for you. Absolutely. Okay, so I have a silly.
Yeah, you, Adelia. Did you want to answer that?
You can if you want.
My dog was barking, so I was on mute for a minute. I was like, what was yours? Yours was what was it?
They asked if we would hire somebody that didn't consume cannabis.
Oh, yeah. So that one, when I read that, that was actually a really interesting question. I think I would, as long as I knew that their intention and understanding for the plant was there and that they were open to going through a lot of education, because they need to have education about this plant. If they don't know the advertising restrictions they're going to hit, then they're not going to be a right fit. But somebody outside can be so creative and think of things that are outside of our kind of scope, because we're so constricted and we're so blocked in a bubble right now, you know?
Mhm.
So maybe, but I would, but they'd go through some tests for sure.
Yeah.
And it depends on the position too. For my retail, I wouldn't hire maybe somebody who doesn't use the plant to sell it, because I feel like you need to like experience it to be able to sell it. But for an event series, absolutely. Again, if you have that, we actually just hired somebody in marketing on our team, and he doesn't consume cannabis, but he grew up with his dad as a grower. So he's immersed in the, culture of cannabis. So I thought that was really cool. I'm like, yeah, you can definitely join the team. You understand cannabis.
Mhm.
So
So let's ask our funny question, because we can't have a serious question without a funny question. So here it is, Adelia. This one's for you. If you were a cannabis-infused gummy, what flavor would you be?
So I read this wrong in the beginning, so I had to think quick right now as I reread it. But I would be the Super Lemon Haze Energizer Bunny, because I keep going and going with business, volunteering, and staying social. So that would be my strain.
He's
Or my
like,
gummy
love
haze.
it.
energy.
I love that.
Gummy flavor, I love it. And
Yeah.
Parisa, what would if you were a gummy, what flavor would you be?
Well, I am an edible, but I'm a Jamocha flavored chocolate. I just happen to be
Yes.
on the box of the Hippie Chicks chocolate, and I'm Jamocha flavor, which is coffee and chocolate. But if I was going to be a gummy, I'd have to go with pink lemonade. I mean, I love pink.
Love it.
Plus, we make a bomb pink lemonade gummy, and it's so good. It's my favorite.
I can vouch for both of those. Both of those, the chocolate and the gummy, they're good.
Thank you, Adelia.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thanks for getting silly with us.
Oh, thanks for letting us get silly with you.
So where can tell us, Parisa? I'm sorry, we're not. This is the first time we've had two guests on, so it's we have to address our questions. So Parisa, tell us where people can find you.
Well, I put my handles right here under my name, so you can follow our business Blunt Brunch or 420 Collections. And then if you want to find me, I am Da Marijuana Mama on Instagram, so DA instead of the. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Parisa Rad, or on Facebook as well.
Right on. And Adelia?
So Parisa shared Blunt Brunch. Event High, you can find Event High at www.eventhigh.io. Also on social as well. And then for me, it would be Adelia_Carrillo_ on socials, and Adelia Lorena Carrillo on all other platforms like LinkedIn.
Right on. And God, we thank you so much for joining us. This was a great conversation. About community, about consumers, about again, every week it just amazes me how different cannabis consumers can be and what the needs are that really span across humans, that consume cannabis. But thank you so much for joining us. We love your perspective and we love your energy. Keep doing what you're doing.
We love your nonverbal cues too.
Brianna, thanks, David.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Here's a nonverbal cue, right? 97%, 93%. Sorry. That was fun.
Awesome. We are dropping into the chat a link to next week's episode where we will have Sarah Gullickson, who is the CEO of CB Advisors. A lot of letters in that title. And we'll be talking about licensing. So don't miss that episode next week, next Thursday. And thank you all for coming.
That's right. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week, next Thursday. Have a great week. And check out brandingbud.com, the best kept secret on cannabis. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.